This is my first video update from Athens, Greece. And right now I am in an area known as Glyfada, Greece. Glyfada, Athens, Greece. It's kind of like the beach suburb of Athens, about a 25-minute drive from the center of Athens to this area. And this is where much of the beaches are kind of congregated. And there's the beautiful church right here of, I believe is Konstantinos and Eleni, if I'm not mistaken, but it's a beautiful church. And there's a service right now. You can hear the chants. Let's walk a little closer and we'll get to some news, and I'll take everybody to the beach area as well. So let's just get a little closer and listen in. That was a bit of a long intro, but it's Sunday morning here. Let's talk about some news and what's going on in the world today. So we'll walk over to the beach area. And if you ever do come to Athens, definitely come to Glyfada, to this area. This used to be an area where I believe there used to be an American base here, like in the 70s, in the 60s, 70s, early 80s. And there's no base here anymore, but this is where a lot of American military used to live, if I'm not mistaken. I could be totally wrong about that, but my mind kind of takes me to the fact that there used to be a lot of Americans and expats living in this area. You know, a good 30 years ago. 30 years ago. Gosh, like 40, 50 years ago. How time flies. Uh, let's talk about what's going on in where should we begin? In Zaporozhye, the nuclear power plant, and we have got more shelling from the Ukraine military, though the collective West and the U.S. government would like us to believe that the Russians are shelling their own nuclear power plant. I'll get into that in a bit, and we'll walk over to the beach area right here. And the Ukraine military is actually they're hitting a dam, if I'm not mistaken, that is actually critical to cooling down the power plant. And if they take this out, then we are in big trouble with regards to the Zaporozhye NPP. And 1 second, let me just pull it up so I make sure I get this story right. I believe the dam is called Kokolovka or something along those lines. I was reading the story last night and I thought it was interesting what the Ukraine military is doing, what they're trying to take out. Kakhovka, Kokolovka, Kakhovka. I wasn't even close. It's the hydroelectric power station. Okay. So yeah, they're shelling the hydroelectric power station. And if they take it out, you could be looking at a nuclear catastrophe, according to the facility's deputy director for reconstruction, who interestingly enough has the name Arseny Zelensky. Should I take out the Z? No, I won't take out the Z in his name. So the director of this hydroelectric power station is saying that the Ukraine military is just across the street here. One sec, everybody, because I don't want to get hit by a car. And I don't want to get hit by a tram because that would not be good. Yeah, they're aiming at this hydroelectric power station, and if this thing goes out, then you are looking at a terrible catastrophe. According to Zelensky, who was quoted by TASS, Kakhovka is now operating in a very dangerous emergency mode. The Kakhovka plant is located in Kherson region in southern Ukraine, and which was seized by Russian forces in the early stages of the military operation. Together with Russian-controlled Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, the biggest in Europe, it has been attacked by Kiev troops with use of Western-supplied weapons, according to regional authorities. And here's a quote, in case of problems with the dam of the Kakhovka hydroelectric power station, there will be big troubles at the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. This could lead to a nuclear catastrophe, according to the deputy director of the plant. He explained to journalists that if the dam is destroyed, the nuclear facility would be deprived of water needed to cool its reactors. He revealed that the station has been working in emergency mode since the first days of hostilities, the station's own needs, backup 6 kV are lost. We are working in a very dangerous mode, he said, adding that one of the turbines had to be turned off following Ukraine rocket attacks. If the military action ceases, Zelensky said, the plant can be restored within a week. Fortunately, the station has not yet received major damage, except for hydroelectric unit number 3, which burned down in March. It takes 1.5 years to complete the work, he said. So they really are gunning the Ukraine military. They really are going after the power grid, the nuclear power plant, this hydroelectric power station. excuse me, they really are going after this, aren't they? Anything to disrupt the referendum, anything to further complicate and trouble the lives of those living in Kherson. This appears to be the Zelensky regime's modus operandi, and I'm now at the beach area. Let's walk up this way, because we are going to have the referendum, which is scheduled for September. Zaporozhye, Kherson, and the Zelensky regime is just trying to take out the electricity, the power in the area. But of course, this would mean a nuclear meltdown, a catastrophe similar to Chernobyl, from what I understand. But it doesn't seem to concern Zelensky or the neocons that are puppeteering Zelensky. Not that the neocons should care, because for the neocons, they feel like they're so far away, so far removed from such a catastrophe that that for them any type of destruction in Russian-controlled territories would mean some sort of victory for these sociopaths. But the propaganda of the collective West is in overdrive with regards to the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. And I came across a Yahoo article yesterday, Yahoo News, which I'm sure they're syndicating from other sources, because I don't think Yahoo News does any original reporting. But the propaganda in this article was pretty incredible. Let me pull it up as well. The article states that that Russia has indeed turned down the proposal from the UN and the US to create a demilitarized zone. So the Russian ambassador came out in a UN session, and he said that Russia is not down with any type of demilitarized area around the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. And he said, let me get you his quote here. There we go. Nebenzia, the Russian ambassador Nebenzia, he said that Russia is safeguarding the facility against potential terrorist attacks and demilitarizing the nuclear power station to leave it vulnerable to anyone willing to pay a visit. Nobody knows what these potential visitors would be after. We can't rule out some sort of provocations or terrorist attacks against the power station, which we ought to safeguard. So those were the statements from the Russian ambassador to the UN, and he ruled out the demilitarized zone in the Zaporozhye power plant. And I'm just trash everywhere, graffiti everywhere. There's a McDonald's bag. And I'm telling you, sometimes Greece, they don't know what beauty they have and they crap all over it. I mean, unbelievable. This could be such a nice port, such a nice area, but it's like just trash everywhere, graffiti everywhere. Let's get out of here. This pisses me off. So the propaganda of this Yahoo article begins after they quote the Russian ambassador to to the UN, and they say Nebenzia's lies come as a threat following repeated shelling of the European continent's largest nuclear power plant, implying that Russia intends to continue to wield the ZNPP, the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, as a nuclear cudgel against Ukraine and the rest of Europe. So it's Russia that is using this as a cudgel against Europe. They're using the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant as leverage over Europe. Okay. A Russian shell nearly hit one of the facility's reactors on August 11th. This is an exact line from this Yahoo News article. A Russian shell nearly hit one of the facility's reactors on August 11th. At the same time, Russia has convened the UN Security Council meeting to discuss the incident, hoping to use it to shift the blame to Kiev's armed forces. A Russian shell. You know, in this whole article, they failed to mention that Russia has been in control of this nuclear power plant for, I don't know, the better part of 3 months, 3+ months. And someone that was just reading this article and didn't really know much about what's going on in Ukraine would actually think that the Russian military was shelling a Ukraine-controlled nuclear power plant. That's what one would think if you didn't really know the details of the conflict or of the special military operation. Which way should we go? You guys want to head back to the city? Let's head back to the main area. I was very disappointed with the condition of the beach area. Very disappointed. I mean, there's nicer beaches if you go up that way, but still. All right, so the article goes on to say that Bonnie Jenkins, U.S. Undersecretary of State for Arms Control and International Security Affairs, said that Russia is fully responsible for the looming risk of nuclear catastrophe and urged Moscow to cede Zaporozhye NPP back to Ukraine. The Russian general, this is an interesting quote. Now listen, I'm going to read this exactly as it is in this Yahoo article. The Russian general, Valery Vasilyev, in charge of the plant, has previously threatened that the area will either Russian land or a scorched desert here, and has claimed to have mined the entirety of the station. If the Russians do trigger a nuclear incident at the ZNPP, much of Eastern Europe will likely suffer from radioactive poisoning for centuries to come. Man, there is just all kinds of propaganda and just all types of terrible editing in this article. First of all, the Russian statement. A Russian general in charge of the plant, okay? He has previously threatened that the area, and I quote, will either Russian land or scorched desert here. So I don't know if they put a statement, some sort of Russian statement via Google Translate, and they just copy and pasted it in. But, you know, you couldn't, if you're all of Yahoo News, you couldn't get a professional translator or someone to translate this a little bit. I mean, it's terrible. Russian land or scorched desert here. Like Google Translate, and this is Yahoo. This is supposedly a big Silicon Valley tech company, and they're putting out garbage like this. So I don't know if a Russian general or a former Russian general or someone said something along these lines, or this is just kind of misquoting or even made up. Who knows? But I seriously doubt that a Russian general who is allegedly in charge of the plant would come out with a statement saying that we've mined the entire plant and we're going to create a scorched earth here in this area. That's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But the other thing that the article says is, towards the end, the last paragraph says, if the Russians do trigger a nuclear incident at the ZNPP, you see, all of this entire article and the entire collective West right now, the propaganda that they're running is that Russia is shelling and they're attacking this nuclear power plant, and they are going to trigger a nuclear catastrophe. That's the narrative that they're putting out there. There's nothing about Russia controls this nuclear power plant. There's nothing about Ukraine shelling this power plant. Nothing like that. It's just Russia's going to trigger a nuclear catastrophe because they're shelling a power plant, and then they pull up poorly translated quotes from Russian generals, right? Let's sit down here. Let's sit down and continue. So, propaganda is just so bad. It is so bad. What would be the motivation for Russia to create a nuclear catastrophe in Zaporozhye and Kherson and the Donbass? Once again, we get to cui bono, and I can think of many reasons why the collective West and the Ukraine would want to do this. We talked about the demilitarized zone. Perhaps this is all a way to get a foothold, to gain a foothold in Zaporozhye by getting the UN to back a demilitarized zone, bring in collective West UN peacekeepers. Doesn't matter how long or how extensive the demilitarized zone is. What it does is it stops Russian military momentum in the area. It creates a buffer zone with an international troop presence. It creates a tripwire because you now have international troops there. So, you create a tripwire and you create all kinds of incidents where sabotage or something along those lines can happen. And of course, once you start with even a basic troop presence, a peacekeeper presence from the UN in even a limited demilitarized zone, it always tends to expand. And as it expands, it freezes out the conflict. That is how it usually works. So you start out with a small presence, a limited demilitarized zone, and over months and years, the demilitarized zone expands and it gets bigger, and more peacekeepers are there, and it just freezes everything out. And of course, you provide the Ukraine military and the collective West with a foothold into the south of Ukraine, where they previously did not have one. So that's one reason why they're shelling the plant. Another reason they could be shelling the plant is because they're losing so bad, and they've just taken the approach of, we're losing so bad that, we got to take desperate actions. And desperate actions include trying to create some sort of, in Ukraine's interest, some sort of scorched earth scenario. You lose so bad that you say, okay, we've lost this territory, we're losing the war, so let's, burn it all down, right? Scorched earth tactics are as old as time with regards to war. And so that's another reason why Ukraine could be shelling a nuclear power plant controlled by Russia. Another dynamic is, as I was mentioning it earlier, the fact that Ukraine would like to disrupt and impede the referendum process that is going to be taking place in Zaporozhye and Kherson. That's another reason. I'm sure there's so many more reasons that we can come up with, logical reasons for why Ukraine wants to take out this nuclear power plants and, in general, the electric grid in the area. Now, what are the reasons for Russia to do this? Can someone in the comment section please give me the rationale that the collective West and this Yahoo News article are putting out there for Russia to want to trigger a nuclear catastrophe and to want to shell a power plant that they control? Why would they want to attack a power plant that they've been controlling for 3 months? A power plant which has Russian citizens there, which has Russian workers there and Russian military there. Why would they want to attack their own military forces? Why would they want to attack their own personnel? Why would they want to attack a power plant that they control? Why would they want to attack a power plant that is critical to providing power to the regions, the Donbass and the south of Ukraine, that they spent so much blood and treasure liberating? Why would they want to do that? Why does that make any sense? Why would Russia go through all of this trouble? Why would they take on all of these sanctions and take on all of this risk in order to one day say, you know what, let's create a nuclear catastrophe in the very area that we've taken on so much risk and the cost of so many lives, and we've gone through so many sanctions and so much international condemnation to liberate. Let's just melt it all down. It doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, at all. But you know, that's the narrative that they're running with. It really is stunning that people are going to actually believe this, or that they believe that people actually believe this. The U.S. government believes that there's no way that Ukraine is shelling their own, is shelling the Zaporozhye power plant. The U.S. doesn't believe Ukrainian forces shelled the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, a high-ranking U.S. official said in a conference call with reporters on Friday. I don't have any belief that the Ukrainians know very well what the impact of hitting the power plant would be, would have an interest in hitting the power plant. It just doesn't make any sense, the official said, according to Caitlin Donbass, a reporter for the Stars and Stripes newspaper, who quoted him on Twitter. A U.S. military representative said Washington gave Ukraine weapons that enable it to fight Russians in Ukraine, and Kiev sets the targets for these weapons. So here you have a U.S. official speaking with the media saying there's no way that the Ukrainians would be attacking the power plant. They don't have any interest in hitting the power plant. So I just I rattled off like 4 interests that the Ukraine would have to hit that power plant. Just right off the top of my head. And I'm walking around in the sun. I'm a little dazed in the morning sun here in Athens, Greece, and I rattled off like 4 reasons why the Ukraine want to do this. Why would Russia want to do it? I still have not seen a rational, logical reason why Russia would want to attack its own power plant and create a meltdown in the very area that they have spent so much time and so many lives liberating. It makes no sense whatsoever. So I think I've gone on long enough with regards to this power plant and the latest news with regards to this power plant. And the collective West, they're tacitly encouraging Ukraine to go after this power plant because they're not telling the Zelensky forces to pull back. They're not telling them to stop. They're tacitly supporting this. Why would Russia do this when they're winning the war? Like on all levels, winning the economic war, winning the military war, winning the energy war. What benefit does Russia get from taking out a power plant that they control? Anyway, here's some more propaganda for everybody. The Institute for the Study of War, the Victoria Nuland run, and her family does run the Institute for the Study of War. this think tank that is putting out a lot of propaganda with regards to the conflict in Ukraine. They sent out a tweet yesterday or a couple of days ago, which said this: according to the study of war, Russia's 64th Separate Guards Motor Rifle Brigade, the unit linked to atrocities in that village outside of Kiev, has likely been destroyed in combat, possibly an intentional Kremlin effort to conceal war crimes. So in that village outside of Kiev where this atrocity took place a couple of months ago, the 64th Separate Guards Motor Rifle Brigade, which was involved in this atrocity according to the Institute of Study of War, has been destroyed. And now the kicker to all of this, the intrigue to all of this, the reason why you know this is full propaganda, and the reason why they can't control themselves, the collective West, when they script this propaganda, is they come up with the line saying that the Kremlin intentionally destroyed this brigade because they wanted to cover the tracks, right, of what happened in this village outside of Kiev. You see, they can't help themselves. They come up with a story. So this propaganda outfit comes up with a story, a propaganda piece, and they say this brigade has been wiped out, and this brigade was involved in what happened in this village in Ukraine, allegedly, right? That's the story they come up with. That's the tweet they construct. All right, full stop. Leave it there. Stop right there. You're done. You don't need to say anymore in this propaganda piece. There's no reason to go further. But no, they can't help themselves. Their hatred for Russia just consumes them. And it leads them to come up with ridiculous plot lines, and it is driven by their hatred. This hysteria forces them, compels them to come up with stupidities that no thinking, logical person would ever believe. Like coming up and saying, yeah, this brigade was wiped out, but it was wiped out by the Kremlin. And the reason the Kremlin wiped them out is because this is all part of Putin's master plan to destroy the evidence, to hide his tracks, right? Like some sort of, it's like some sort of scene from The Godfather or something, you know, where Michael Corleone, in the final scenes of the Godfather movies, there's always, the ending always has Corleone, you know, taking out all of his enemies and all of the people involved in the intrigue that took place. It's exactly what it is. It's the evil mastermind, Putin. 3 months later, like this happened like 3 months ago almost. 3 months later, coming up and saying, okay, now that I've created this, now that I've committed this atrocity in this village, 3 months later, I'm going to cover my tracks and just wipe out this entire brigade. They've been fighting for 3 months, no problem. You know, they've been doing their military duty. And 3 months later, the Kremlin comes along and wipes them out in order to cover their tracks from what happened in this village. Why would he wipe them out? Why cover their tracks? You've already been condemned by the international community for this, the collective West. You've already been condemned by the collective West for what allegedly happened in this village. So why do you have to wipe out a whole brigade 3 months later? It makes no sense. It's no sense. So let's do a final story and get to a clown world. Real quick, Putin's poll number, since we're talking about Putin, the level of trust of Vladimir Putin is at 81%. It's the highest it's been since 2015, when 89% of Russians supported the president during the Syrian campaign. We have more demilitarization coming out of the collective West as well. Slovakia is handing over, from what I understand, all their MiG-29 fighter jets to Ukraine. I don't know if from what I'm reading, they're just giving up their whole inventory. All their MiGs are going to Ukraine. It looks like Slovakia is going to be completely demilitarized. Let me just get to this story as I cross the street here. Let's see. Slovakia is handing over its MiG-29 fighter jets to Ukraine. The state television channel RTV reports, citing the country's defense minister, Yaroslav Nagy. The number of aircraft is not specified, but it was previously reported that Slovakia is armed with 11 MiG-29 units. So, if what I'm reading is correct, Slovakia is giving up all their MiG-29s. More demilitarization of the collective West. And demilitarization in the United States as well. The U.S. is low on supplies for rocket system HIMARS. HIMARS, the BIMARS, because they don't have any more inventory of the rockets. Or at least Ukraine doesn't have any more inventory of the rockets. They can run out in a month, and the U.S. is running low on inventory of the rockets to supply to Ukraine. Ukraine could run out of ammo for the highly touted system, says Newsweek, adding that wild guesses estimate Kiev has only 3 to 4 months worth of stockpile left, while others put the number at just 1 month, as Washington is reported to have emptied a third of its HIMARS missile inventory, with many rocket systems sent to Ukraine already destroyed by Russian forces. So Ukraine is running out of HIMARS missiles, of ammo. The U.S. has emptied out a third of its inventory of ammo. They had, from what I gather, they had 16 HIMARS, the HIMARS vehicles, the vehicles that actually launched the rockets, the missiles, and there were 16 that were provided to Ukraine, and we are getting credible reports that the Russians have now taken out a total of 7 plus 1 being sold to the Russians, allegedly sold to the Russians. So from 16, they've gone down to 8. And if you look at the latest military, the latest military equipment that Biden has signed off on, that he's drawn down from U.S. inventories, there are no more HIMARS trucks, vehicles that are slated to be sent to Ukraine. So from 16 to 8, they've gotten some launch systems from the UK and from Germany as well, but the main wonder weapon, the HIMARS, have been halved. They have been halved in about a month's time. So much for your wonder weapon. But, they had a good run of sales. That's for sure. They sold quite a lot of those HIMARS. And let's do another story and talk about Peski. This is a quick story, but it's important because the Russians have taken control of the town of Peski, which was a very heavily fortified area, which is now under Russian control, and which means that the Russians will be moving to Avdeevka, which is the other fortified Ukraine stronghold close to Donetsk, which has been responsible for the shelling, for the most part, has been responsible for the shelling of Donetsk city. And this was an important town for the Russians to get, Peski. It's one of the most important victories for the Russian military, because it means that the Donetsk area will soon be free of these missiles, that these artillery shells that hit the city and cause so much damage. Peski was heavily fortified and manned with a large garrison, which was equipped extremely well. And this was a slow operation. It was done slowly, saved the lives of many troops, and it led to the complete defeat of the Ukraine military in this fortified city. So the road is now open for Avdeevka. This choke point of Peski has been dismantled, And now you're going to have a significant amount of troops freed up to go after Avdeevka. So this was really, really big, important news. Go to any of the military map channels like Defense Politics Asia, or there's another good one called THETI or Theta, THETI or THETA. But it's a really good channel as well, which does a lot of the military analysis. THETI or Theta mapping. Check them out as well. They'll go into more detail, I'm sure, of the importance and the significance of this victory by Russia of Peski, the town of Peski. And you're looking at the wrap-up of Donbass. It's getting wrapped up. It's taking time because these were heavily fortified areas, but it's getting wrapped up. So I will end the video there. Do I have a clown world? Gosh, do I have a clown world? Of course I've got a clown world. Of course I have got a clown world. And this clown world is going to be a super duper quick one. And it is coming out of the Telegram channel. And let me pull it up here. And it's accompanied by a video. But it's from the Telegram channel Slaviangrad. And they have a video here as well as this translation, which says, Italian ice cream maker in tears. Today I received an electricity bill for July, 5,128 euros. Last year I paid 1,371 euros for the same period, consuming 200 kilowatt hours, leased 200 kWh in 2021, cost 9 cents. Today, 53, an increase of 468%. And in the video, he shows his bills. And that's the clown world. As Borrell said, we're all going to have to pay the price, aren't we? What did I say in my video yesterday? We're all going to have to pay the price because we are all at war, except for them. The EU kleptocrats and the elite, they're not at war. The US, collective West, kleptocrats, and the elite, the politicians, they're not at war, and they're not going to pay any price. But as Borrell says, we're all at war, and we're all going to have to pay the price for Ukraine. A country, last time I checked, was not in the European Union, does not have any military alliances with any countries in the collective West, and has nothing to do with anything that's going on here in Greece, at least. I can tell you that, and I'm sure in Italy the same, but, you know, we're all going to have to pay the price for this Italian ice cream maker. That price is coming in the form of 468% increase in his electric bill. Anyway, I'm going to end it there. TheDuran.locals.com. Check out Alexander's channel. Check out the Duran's channel. Take care.